I guess I'm not surprised over the end result because to me, I thought the Eagles were the better team. I
Yeah.
thought Washington had enough issues where the Eagles should take care of business. And to the Eagles' credit, they took an early lead on them. And did they take their foot off the gas? I don't think they did defensively. And Tone, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Monday. Eagles are 3-0. There's only two undefeated teams in the NFC, and they're both in the same division, and there may only be one come after tonight, Giants Cowboys. But we're not going to talk about that today because it is a Victory Monday, and the Eagles are 3-0. Tone, how you feeling?
I feel great, Jeff. If I'm being completely transparent with you, I know it's early. It's 7 o'clock on the East Coast. It might be 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock elsewhere. But man, it's winning time for the Philadelphia Eagles. And you think about that game last night, the way it went from beginning to end. That game pretty much, and I might be jumping the gun here, but that game symbolized Carson Wentz's career in a nutshell.
Oh, it did. Oh, it definitely did. First off, Carson Wentz held on to the ball too long, fumbled twice, 69 times in 88 career games. I know I keep track of that stuff because I'm the same. but overall, I guess I'm not surprised over the end result because to me, I thought the Eagles were the better team. I thought Washington had enough issues where the Eagles should take care of business. And to the Eagles' credit, they took an early lead on them. And did they take their foot off the gas? I don't think they did defensively. And they just, I don't even want to say they held on. They basically cruised from start to finish.
Yeah, they started off the game pretty slow. The first couple drives kind of went flat. I believe the offense was trying to adjust to what Washington was throwing at them. Washington started off fast on defense. They were flying to the ball. I'll give them credit for that. Their DBs were flying to the ball pretty early. But then at some point, the cream rises to the top and talent starts to shine through. And, the Philadelphia Eagles, they were pretty much lights out once that second quarter began. They scored all their points in the second quarter, 24 points. Jalen Hurts completed 63% of his passes, going 22 for 35, 340 passing yards, averaging almost 10 yards an attempt, 3 passing touchdowns, 123 quarterback rating. I mean, he was spectacular once again. And, we're not going to see those 83, 82% games all the time like we saw last week, so I think fans should just, get used to not seeing that. But what you want to see is you want to see him be able to respond to various situations. You want to see him win in different scenarios. So this was a different type of win compared to week 2 and week 1.
We're starting not to be amazed by what Jalen Hurts does anymore. It's starting to become the norm. He is the first player in NFL history to average 300 passing yards per game and average 50 rushing yards per game through his first 3 starts. Jalen Hurts is starting to look like easily a top 10 quarterback. But if we're judging him through 3 weeks, Stone, he's top 5. He's an MVP candidate right now.
Yeah, you know what? I think he's third or second in the MVP race right now. He probably jumped.
Yeah, I would say he's behind Lamar.
Okay, yeah, I think he jumped Josh Allen after the Bills blew it against the Dolphins, and the Chiefs somehow lost to the Colts. I think he jumped those guys as of right now, but that kind of stuff is like a constant slider. It changes all the time. But overall though, you have to be pleased with the way Jalen Hurts is playing right now. He's improved in every facet of his game. You see it, the decision making, the poise, and again, like you said, it's going to get to a point where we're going to stop being amazed by what he does. Now we're going to focus strictly on winning and how far can he actually take this team.
Oh, that's the thing, Tone. To me, when I was watching that game yesterday, I think what impressed me was I don't think the Eagles' offensive line had a great job in run block, right? I don't think they created enough holes in the A and B gap, and maybe that's because of the Dickerson injury. Maybe not, because Opeta did play a little bit yesterday. But to me, what impressed me more was Jalen Hurts just said, you know what? All right, Smitty, go get the ball. I'm going to throw it to you. I trust you. A.J. Brown, same thing. Dallas Goedert was in and out of the game, obviously. He eventually came back in. But what Devonta Smith was able to do yesterday, it makes it laughable. And it's not like we heard it on here, Tone. I mean, you and I did. But there were people talking about Devonta Smith isn't happy because he ain't getting any catches after week 1. And, like, he's going to get his way out of here come contract time. I'm like, you guys sound so insane right now. Well, guess what? Devonta Smith is, I think he's 11th in the NFL in receiving yards, and he didn't have a catch the first week. And yesterday was Devonta Smith proving he's a number 1 wide receiver and then more.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Devonta Smith, last year people thought he could be a number 1 wide receiver. I mean, leading the team in receiving yards last year, leading them in receptions. And I think he was tied for receiving touchdowns with Dallas Goedert. But Devonta Smith, 8 catches, 169 yards, averaging 21 yards a catch, 1 touchdown. Longest catch of the day was 45 yards, had 12 targets. A.J. Brown, 5 catches, 85 yards, averaging 17 yards a catch, 1 touchdown. Longest catch of the day was 38 yards on 10 targets. Those 2 guys were the passing game yesterday, and that's what you pay for. There's something to be said about the Devonta Smith situation in terms of just being able to afford all these guys, because there's going to come a time where Devonta is going to need his money, and if he keeps this kind of play up, it's going to be really hard to pay all those guys. I understand the cap is going up. You're still going to have to find a way to pay Jalen Hurts if you decide to commit to him long term. At this point, I don't see why not, but you want to continue to see him grow against stronger opponents. But this offense was locked in the second quarter. Like that's the most fascinating thing about this offense, right? They seem flat, and all of a sudden they just pop and drop 24 on you in one quarter. This is like the second or third week in a row where they've dropped like more than 17 points in a quarter. It's pretty remarkable.
I'll correct you on that. So this is the 3rd consecutive game they've scored 24 points in a quarter.
Wow. Thank you so much for like that. That's even more impressive, right? That's just that just speaks to just how explosive this team is.
Yeah. And well, here's the thing with me and this and the Eagles. They scored 21. I'm sorry, Tony, I got to correct myself. 24 points in each half. I have my notes here. So 24 points in each half in the first half. That's 3rd consecutive week they've done that. 3rd consecutive week they've had 400 plus total yards. They're one of the most explosive offenses in the league. And you're right. It just seems like they feel it out for a possession or 2. And give credit to Shane Steichen. Give credit to Jalen Hurts. The Eagles just go into video game mode. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, we got A.J. Brown. We got Devonta Smith. Let's do this thing. And, last week it was Jalen Hurts. The first week it was A.J. Brown. This week it was Devonta Smith. I think teams look at, okay, who do we stop? Next week it may be Miles Sanders. I mean, we could talk about Jacksonville all week. Jacksonville's got a really good defense. But overall, it just feels like the Eagles to me, they're that team that they can turn it on whenever they can, and they built such a big lead that it doesn't matter what they do in the second half, because I just did not feel the way that defense played yesterday and the way that defense was getting to Carson Wentz, that Washington offense was not scoring 24 points after halftime.
Yeah, that offense was being harassed left and right, in particular Carson Wentz. And, Carson Wentz, like I mentioned, this game was a microcosm of just how his career has been going. He was sacked 9 times. Let's put that in perspective. T.J. Edwards got in on the sack party with 1 sack. Brandon Graham got in on the sack party with 2.5 sacks. And we're going to talk about him, man. Brandon Graham torn Achilles where? He's 34 years old. I don't see
it. Him and Fletch, they're over the hill.
Oh, man. And look, again, this was a really bad Washington offensive line. Let's really, put it into perspective. Really bad Washington offensive line, but they were productive, and that's what you're supposed to do when you're the superior. When you're the superior line. So yeah, T.J. Edwards 1 sack, Brandon Graham 2.5 sacks, Hassan Reddick 1.5 sacks, Fletcher Cox 1.5, Josh Sweat 1.5, Javon Hargrave 1.5. Well, 1 sack for Javon Hargrave. What's so good about it as well? Hassan Reddick. We finally saw an Hassan Reddick sighting. You know what I mean? I think he forced the fumble as well, but we didn't recover that one. And then BG forced the fumble, and that's the one we got. So the defensive line is getting more confident. They seem faster. They're explosive. We had a lot of quarterback hits, a lot of pass deflections off that defensive line with Jordan Davis and Brandon Graham. So this defensive line is getting active, and it's exciting to see this defense actually starting to hit their stride, because we knew we had a lot of questions about Jonathan Gannon and whether his scheme was being deployed properly with this personnel.
16 pressures, 6 hurries, 17 quarterback hits, 9 sacks on Carson Wentz yesterday. And he didn't rush anybody. Like he just sent the front four. He just pressured the front four. And that just shows you how deep the Eagles defensive line is. Anybody who was anybody was able to get the Carson Wentz on Sunday. And to me, that felt like a Carson Wentz Eagles game when he played with the Eagles. And was he held on to the ball too long, Tone. He made some questionable decisions. And I remember my dad texting me. I think it was the third quarter. He goes, "Oh, there it is. There's the face, Jeff. There's the face." And my dad couldn't stand that Carson Wentz face where he's looking like in disgust. And then, he makes a big play and, look at me. I'm Carson Wentz. Look at me. And I can see why that guy had issues in a locker room. I really could. It just feels like it's not that he would blame his teammates, but he just feels like that guy. He always has to let you know when he's doing well, even when he's not. And to me, that just bothers me because the whole offensive line in Washington, they were bad yesterday. Charles Lowe and Sam Cosmi aren't bad tackles, but with no Chase Ruler at center, they were down to their third string center, and the Eagles just bullied them. They took their lunch money and they took the lunchbox.
Yeah, I'm just glad Carson Wentz was playing for the other team this time, man, because his play was giving me nightmares, or giving me flashbacks. I still have PTSD after dealing with Carson Wentz, in his final years as the Eagles quarterback. Now, I want to give him credit. A lot of people want to pretend like he wasn't instrumental in that Super Bowl. He was. He helped us get the number 1 seed. Let's really be humble about it, Eagles fans. He helped the Philadelphia Eagles get the number 1 seed, which allowed the Eagles to have home field advantage going into the playoffs that year, and which helped Nick Foles secure the Super Bowl for the Eagles. So, there was a moment where he was the guy, and Carson Wentz hasn't really been the same since then. There's been a steady decline in his decision making, in his pocket presence, just in his overall mechanics. You see a guy who doesn't trust his offensive line. You see a guy who looks at everyone else when something else goes wrong. You see a guy who just doesn't seem to get it. I forgot who said it. I forgot who said it, but I think it was John McMullen. He said something like, Carson Wentz is 30 years old. He's not changing.
No, he's not. He's going to be 30, I think, in November. Oh, no, December. That's right. It's the same birthday as LeBron and Tiger, if I remember correctly.
I don't think they're in the same category, Jeff.
No, I don't think they are. Two are GOATs, and one is, well, I'm a bigger Michael Jordan than LeBron fan, but still, you can consider LeBron a GOAT. I can't consider Carson Wentz a GOAT of anything. Maybe the GOAT of fumbles. But overall, though, Tone, to me, it just felt like, can we please rest the Jalen Hurts doesn't play anybody talk? Can we please rest that Carson Wentz is better than Jalen Hurts? The Eagles made a bad decision. No, they didn't. Or Howie Roseman looked into Jalen Hurts. No, he didn't. To me, Jalen Hurts.
Well, really quickly, Jeff, before you continue, what? I think at that time when Jalen Hurts was drafted, at that time, not today, but at that specific moment when he got drafted on draft night, I think a lot of Eagles fans were scratching their heads. I think a lot of people were questioning Howie Roseman's decision-making. Obviously, it pans out, but I feel like a lot of people do have a slight case of revisionist history, because I was one of the people that was questioning, why were we drafting a quarterback in the second round? I mean, I don't understand it. But, again, you can get back to your point. I just wanted to, put that out there, because initially that Hurts pick didn't really seem like the best pick, but it panned out in the end. And sometimes you have to be more lucky than good.
This is my mindset, and this is me putting the GM cap on. If you like that guy enough, you get him. And you didn't have another pick for like 50 picks. Did they reach for him? Maybe. But I liked what I saw out of him in Lincoln Riley's offense when he actually had the chance to throw the football. I looked at it as, okay, Carson Wentz gets hurt every single year, no matter what. And I think they were tired of the whole injury narrative, and they know how important a backup quarterback was. Why do you think Gardner Minshew's here? They know how valuable a backup quarterback is to their football team, and they felt Jalen Hurts was going to be the perfect guy to develop for Carson Wentz. And to be honest, I think the Eagles knew they kind of made a mistake giving Carson Wentz that money.
I mean, I knew it was a mistake to give him that money when they gave it to him, and I was still kind of supporting him, right? I just felt like it was a little premature to pay him that kind of money and lock up your franchise and a guy who we still don't know if he can get us over the hump. And I think they were just banking on that 2017 11-game stretch, 12-game stretch where he can kind of replicate that. And he just wasn't the same player physically, he busted knee, busted back, concussion, he just wasn't the same guy. And it's unfortunate to see a guy fall like that. And now let's be totally frank about this. Jim Irsay is looking like a genius, no matter how crazy he may look or be.
You know what? After Sunday's game with the Colts, I was ready to write them as one of my worst teams in the NFL. I don't think they are, because I think that was an impressive win over the Chiefs. By the way, can I go sidetrack here? How does the AFC South go undefeated against the AFC West? Did you notice that?
That's a good. I didn't even notice that. Wait, so the Chiefs lost against them.
Yeah.
And who else lost?
The Jaguars beat the Chargers. And
Jaguars beat the Chargers, yeah.
Yeah, and the Raiders lost to the Titans.
Well, the Raiders beat the Titans, you mean?
No, the Raiders lost to them.
Oh no, you're right. My apologies. Yeah. Raiders lost to the Titans.
Yeah. So the AFC West went 0-3 to the AFC South yesterday.
Hey,
listen. Best in NFL history.
Well, look.
And look, Denver won 11-10. They look terrible. If Jimmy Garoppolo knew where the back of the end zone was, they would have lost.
I'll be honest with you. I'm starting to think our lucky stars that Russell Wilson didn't want to come to Philadelphia. He looks like he just.
I could have told you that.
he looks like a shell of himself. He doesn't even run anymore, and that was what made him dynamic, right? His ability to just escape and get out of the pocket and run and keep the opposing defense off guard. He just looks like he's not comfortable out there. He doesn't look like he's comfortable with the head coach. The head coach looks like he barely knows what he's doing. They may have the most inept offense in the NFL right now.
We should say so. I still think Green Bay brought in the Nathaniel Hackett. Not Green Bay. Denver brought in the Nathaniel Hackett to try to get Aaron Rodgers to Green Bay. To Denver. See, I keep thinking Green Bay because I'm making the Nathaniel Hackett connection here. But yeah, I thought they wanted to get Aaron Rodgers, and then they didn't, and then they decided to get Russell Wilson, which is fine. But look, I love Russell Wilson probably as much as anybody, but I just did not like the fact that you would give up this king's ransom to get Russell Wilson into your team, especially when you're the Eagles, because you had a quarterback. You had Jalen Hurts. You still needed to find out what he had. And the guy is one of the few. He's like Josh Allen. He gets better and better and better every single year. Everybody hates the Josh Allen comparisons, but because Josh Allen's more arm talent and he's a bigger quarterback. But Jalen Hurts is a rare breed. He gets better every year. Hard work pays off. He's a guy that finally has the same coordinator for the first time in consecutive year for the first time since high school, and he's not afraid to admit that. The last time he had that was dad in high school. So you're seeing the benefits. You're reaping them right now. And again, it's only 3 games, but it does look like you have your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and if you ask me, that Detroit Lions win is starting to age like fine wine. I understand they lost on Sunday to the Vikings, but the Vikings barely won that game. Let's be honest. The Vikings
still won that game.
Yeah, I agree. The Vikings just don't, let me not make it about the Vikings. The Detroit Lions, they have a very good offense. Do they have defensive, questions, maybe beyond the line of scrimmage? Sure. They're not the most talented overall, but they had some nice pieces. You know what I'm saying? And the Detroit Lions, they play tough, they play fast. You're going to, for a fact, whenever you play them, you got to bring your lunch pail because it's going to be a long day. The Detroit Lions, that win is looking like the perfect win, and we caught them at the perfect time. Again, this team is taking care of business, and they look so much superior against all teams they face for the most part. And again, this defense is starting to catch their stride. Jalen Hurts is spreading the ball around, getting the ball, getting it to all his playmakers. This is really exciting, man. But we have our guy Mike Gill in the building right now. Hey Jeff, any final words before we go to break?
You know what, Tony? I'm just gonna piggyback on what you said here. Again, I thought the Lions show won yesterday. They are 4 for 6. They're 4 for 6 on 4th downs, and Dan Campbell decides for once not to go for it and kick a 54-yard field goal with a kicker who missed a 48-yard field goal earlier to make it a touchdown game. And with a minute left, and that did not work. And it set up Minnesota. They won the game. We could talk about that. We could talk plenty more NFL with Mike Gill right after the break.